All right, guys, what's up? It's Josh and Nathan here, and today we're bringing you action from week 2 of the FAB Team Cup. On the left, we have none other than William Bradshaw himself. His opponent is a dash from the Invaders. I'm not exactly sure who this is, but they are a team out of Indonesia. Looks like the dash opted to go first, loaded up the pistol, put a Technical Core into play, and Arsenal to card. Pretty good start.
Definitely decent start. The one qualm that I would have with the dash setup is I do think it's kind of weird that we're seeing the lack of Talishar and then also the lack of Goliath Gauntlet. Those are typically any match where you know it's going to be a race and there's
Mhm.
no other outcome. That's
Yep.
typically where you want to be, because
Mhm.
we're going to see that on this next turn more than likely when not all resources get used off that Teklo core.
Mhm.
Um, but that's just a min max kind of thing. He could be on something fancy. Who knows? I did see a hyperdriver,
Mhm.
although that doesn't make a lot of sense when you don't have the mech headpiece to make
Mhm.
the mechanoid. But we'll see.
Yeah. The only reason I could possibly see for running the gloves, does the gloves block for one?
The gloves do block for one, but
So
when the other option is
Mhm.
Goliath Gauntlet that produce
Right.
2 damage, it's just a better
Yeah.
card.
So Glad Gauntlet gives 2 damage, but the gloves, the mechanologist gloves, I'm not actually sure the name, could actually provide 4 value if they block a breakpoint. Like if it blocks a snatch, you've kind of turned it into something that's blocking for 4. But I do
Sure,
agree.
sure.
This does seem like an uncohesive strategy from our dash player. Anyways, we looks like we have a turn 1 Art of War. Generally, I'd say you want to set this up a little bit more, but given the fact that he doesn't have Blossom, doesn't have Tunic, um, there's no real way to I guess setting up the Art of War matters less
I think
when you
the
don't have those.
reason I think the reason he played it is if you notice he pitched a yellow, not a blue.
Mhm. Yep.
If that was a blue, the very clear line would be to play Rising Resentment, Sword
Sword
Swing,
swing.
and then Phoenix Flame, and then Lava Burst, and then
Yep.
Arsenal the Art of War. However, because it was a yellow,
Yep.
he could not afford to get that Lava Burst out, so it would just be a
Mhm.
real lack of a turn. And in a
Mhm.
match where the dash is showing Pounder, I don't think you can afford to take that much of an off turn. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Yep. Okay. So this flame will come in for 3 here. Um, bonus from the Shuka, bonus from the Art of War. Uh, but 2 or 3 doesn't really matter much for the dash because if the dash wants to block, you can do that. Blue snatch. It's probably is going to get an armor block here
Yeah,
unless the
this will
dash
get
is
this will get the chess piece unless there's a dead card, but
mhm.
highly unlikely. Well,
Okay. So this style that we're seeing from dash could just be um I mean, I hope that there's some use from the Technical here, but it could just be like trying to value for a couple turns and then go for it on like dash doesn't actually have to go super duper fast if they don't want to.
I mean, if he could just
Um
throw a throttle here for 8, it's not
yeah,
terrible.
exactly.
Right?
Yep. Or
Or another technical
uh
trigger. That's pretty
okay.
good.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
that
I
works.
don't hate
I don't hate that either.
it.
Um so I mean that's a good way to use a Technical. All right. Used his Technical energy, used all of his hand, and used his action point. So I think that's pretty good. Back over to Phi, another Art of War. Okay. Sometimes you see the Art of Wars as like a reaction, like a pseudo attack reaction, but
Mhm.
looks like Will probably doesn't have a suitable hand. He might not
Yeah,
even have a starter.
yeah, probably lacking the starter or really just didn't like,
Mhm,
because Salt the Wound, Minnowism, like, what can you really do? Once again, I think
mhm.
he would, in a perfect world, he would prefer to set it up, but I think
Yep.
literally if he did that, he would have like a
Mhm.
5 damage turn, and in this matchup, you
Sure.
just can't afford to do that.
Little tip here, if you're watching this back, Will, you should be shuffling your hand right now, so the opponent doesn't know that the left card is the card you chose not to banish. That's a very small thing, but no information. All right. Do you think he actually chose Go Again? He
Probably
probably
not. I think he's
he
just
didn't
gonna
put the dice
snap
down.
this. I think,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I mean, it depends. I don't know if
Mhm.
he usually does that or not, but it could just be as easy as doing a
That
snaps here.
that was the middle card, right? So he didn't know to give it Go Again. So
Hmm.
yeah, this could be an early Snapdragon play here.
Yeah, it could
Uh,
be.
if
He could
if
have
it
like a
gets
Blaze Headlong, and that's
Mhm.
the red card he needed to give it
Yep.
go again.
If this gets blocked out, this is probably just an Arsenal pass here.
Um,
I mean, do you
no.
really want to snap for what is this, 4 damage probably?
Well,
7 damage maybe?
if you don't, you wasted a card.
Sure.
That's the only downside.
You
And
wasted a card and 2 energy, I guess.
yeah, so like
Mhm.
it's not where you want to be. So you really
Yep.
have to snap this. And hopefully
Okay.
he's got a Blaze Headlong into a sword swing. That would
So
be
this is
ideal.
this is this snatch came in for 5 there.
That's
All right,
pretty good.
CNC for 7. Ah, yeah, it's all right, I guess. Um, Generally, I think you'd want to do that when the crown is not up, because this is now
Yeah,
just 7 vanilla damage.
I don't like running CNC in this matchup in 5 because
I
it
agree.
yeah,
Yep.
it reduces your consistency,
Mhm.
and I think that card is only for decks that like really need the arsenal that you know are not running um Crown of Providence. Like could be the mirror match, could be against Katsu, Lexi, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Bolton.
Yep.
Um,
Anything where you gotta put that
and
pressure on.
yep. Hmm. All right. Just to pass back.
All right.
All right. Tech Liqueur activated. So the dash did take some damage here. So let's see what the dash player can do.
Bustable courier for 8 would be really good here.
Yep. In general, I would, because this matchup is so fast, I'd actually try to arsenal those combustibles because
Right.
you really want to get it on a turn where you can like get an overblock from them rather than a card plus armor,
Right.
or in this case, like maybe 2 cards plus 2 armor or something like that. Yep.
Well, this is a throttle for 10. That's pretty decent.
Yep, it is. Well, the no on hits and Fi's cards attack for more than they block in general. So unless he has a dead card, we're not seeing a block. Even if he has a dead card, we probably shouldn't see a block here, because something with an on hit could come later.
Right.
The only danger of that is that sometimes it's very difficult to determine your opponent's attack pattern, and if you don't block early enough, you might not get the chance to block later. Although that's less of a problem with dash because it's fairly obvious that there's at least 2 more attacks here coming. Very curious to see if the new cards, Pulse Wave Harpoon, BIOS update, um, or any of the other. I guess we're probably not going to see Mechanoid here, but if any of the other new dash cards make a difference here, because 5 basically got no upgrades. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't think there's any includes from Dynasty really.
Mhm,
I mean, obviously Harpoon is such a good card.
mhm.
If you can just rip like a starter out of Fi's hand, then you
Or
basically
the
just win
blue.
the game.
Yeah, like even though Fi is quite consistent, they're consistent in a way that is fairly demanding on their whole hand.
Right.
Um, yeah, there's no. That's the best way to put it. um, Taking a little bit of time on this block. I mean, kind of wondering what Will's thinking here. It's probably a middling hand, if I had to guess. I think in general, 5 players are just kind of ingrained to, like, really not wanna block even if their hand is average.
Right.
So, I think he's, like, reluctantly saying, "Alright, no blocks," even though he doesn't love his hand. Alright, took 10 damage there. Alright, down to 30. Alright,
All right. T-Bone
T-bone.
really good here with snaps down. It's actually really good.
Yep. I guess that's another reason, not use a snap so early. Another T-bone here is gonna get a critical piece of armor here, or a Meganantic Shockwave if the Dash player is running that. Although that seems fairly unlikely, actually. Zipper hit here coming in, pitching a hyperdriver. Hmm. So one of the things about hyperdriver used to be in Crucible War, and that
Mhm.
was as a yellow only. And that card was actually somewhat useful because it allowed you to play with zero cost boost cards, get
Mhm.
a resource for the heart, and then get 2 resources and do things with the pistol. But not having a chamber here kind of defeats some of the purpose of the hyperdriver here.
Right, right. Whereas if it like in this situation, if that was a Hanabi blaster, you would have
Mhm.
got 2.5 points of value for free because you would have gotten one counter by boosting 3 times. Um,
You know, the more I think about it, though, I don't think Hanabi Blaster is actually a very good weapon. Like, I think the only weapons you should be running as Dash is Talishar or the pistol, because you think about like in the matchups um where the game is so short, you have to think about like how do you get more value out of Hanabi Blaster? You have to boost 2 times, 2 times, 2 times. You have to boost
mhm.
6 times.
Right.
3 you have to boost 3 times 6 times, right? Which means the game has to go 6 turns. Um, in many matchups, that's not gonna happen.
Well,
In the aggro matchups.
what it
Mhm.
boils down to is the composition of the deck, right?
Yep.
If you
Mhm.
run a tighter blue curve, then Hanabi Blaster makes a lot more sense than Talishar because you might not have the two floating.
Mhm.
Um, and you
I
can just push
is
the 5 basically.
is that the case though? I mean, with Tekla Foundry Heart, how often do we see dashes like really strained for resources?
Most of the
I
time, not basically. Like throttle is the only thing that really prices you
Mhm.
out, and then you still have, of course, Tekla quarters to bail you out, and you have
like
the
if
Foundry Heart as well.
like as long as you have a blue, even if you have a 3 cost or sorry, 2 cost mech card, you still pay 2 for that, 1 for the heart, you get 2 back, and then you can still Talishar. So um you know, I just overall I'm not really the more I think about it, like Hanabi Blaster is like counterintuitive to it's not what you it doesn't form a cohesive game plan in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Um
think it's a hedge against. It's
Mhm,
something. It's like the Talishar, but it has a game plan against fatigue, right? Because if you can get 4 counters on the Hanabi Blaster, and
mhm,
then you can fire it twice in the same turn,
mhm,
that's 10 damage for no resources, right?
mhm,
And all it costs is some way to get action points, whether it be high octane or your boots or whatever the case may be.
right.
So like that, a move
Cool.
like that can
Mhm,
like push. Like you could run aggro into Oldham
mhm,
and not give up. You know, if you don't have like the other package for the Guardians, and not
mhm,
give up the ability to fatigue. Right? It's not a free win, obviously. Like you're still gonna have to work for it, but like it's way better than
mhm,
Talishar in that situation.
mhm. Well, we're seeing that extra 1 block here being useful. Blocking Engulfing Flame Wave. In comes Snatch here. I think this got banished from the Rising Resentment. So
Yep. Mounting anger. Yep.
Mounting Anger, sorry. So that's gonna draw him a card there. But without Go Again, can't do much with that extra card.
Yeah, that means I'm not sure what is in the arsenal for Will. If there's not many cards in Vi that you just can't play, so I'm
Mhm.
curious of what that arsenal is. If I don't think he's running like that's all you got, or maybe he is. I mean, it's not the worst against pistol, but that would
Mhm.
be quite the call.
Okay, this should be coming in for 8, I believe. Yep. 0 cost, 8 Go Again. Pretty good. So the life totals are getting kind of low. Like the Will's window for using the links, so its full potential is kind of closing. Um, and without Snapdragons, you can't go like salt, snap, salt.
Right.
So this kind of puts a cap on like how big his big turn can be here. Um, hmm,
He basically needs a really big spreading flames or art of war turn or both.
mhm,
Because other than that, he's not going to be able to get out of the situation because he's already facing 8, probably
yep,
about 6 more. And the Techo Pounders both have 1 counter left on them.
yep,
So Dash can very easily do the same play where he blocks for 9 and then throws like 1/0 cost out and gets,
mhm,
you know, another
yep,
8 damage for 1 card.
yep.
And it's definitely not good that Will's blocking here. Which I'm not sure. He blocked with a blue, a red starter. I mean, like
Mhm.
everything you want, right? And
Yeah.
even lava burst. Like I don't know.
Mhm, hmm.
I don't.
I'm wondering why he
Whoa.
pitched a zipper hit to load the pistol instead of, well, I guess instead of like, no,
Wait.
he didn't have any resources. Never mind. Okay.
So that card had no on hit effect, and Will blocked a blue mounting anger and lava burst when he had that. That was like a perfect. That was like one of Fi's best turns. He could have mounting anger
Yes.
into blaze headlong, into sword swing, into phoenix flame, into lava burst,
Yes.
which
And
is
you have enough
way
resources.
more than the
Yep. Yes.
11 he blocked for plus
Yes.
the attack.
Yep. And the Shuko would have triggered as well. So
Right.
he could have even he could have even, well, he
Masked it.
didn't
No, he
well,
didn't have go
he didn't
again.
have snap,
Yeah.
but yeah. This is why I think like kind of like with Dorinthia, you want to use your courage and your boots together. You want to use your links and your snaps together because they amplify each other. I don't really like using them separately like this. All right, BIOS update into a 0 to 60 did not hit a item. I think if this hit an item, or if this hits an item this turn, this is pretty devastating. What? Okay. Well, this hand, he could go belittle, reveal Cinderskin, but yeah, it doesn't really. That hand's not really doing much. Jump
Yeah, I mean
start.
that
Ooh.
hand it kind
Mhm.
of makes
Yep,
sense
it
what
does.
he's doing, but the last hand it was like the perfect
Mhm.
hand.
Yep. Boosting away a harpoon. Blocking. I don't like blocking with armor for no reason. Okay, there we go. Taking 5. Um, if I was Dash, I would get extra damage here. Definitely worth it to shoot the pistol here. Because if you have extra resources next turn, you would have at least a 1 resource outlet.
Right.
So it's definitely the correct play here to shoot the pistol. Oh, Absorption Dome. Ooh, that's a spicy card.
I don't even know what
But
that card does.
I think that card enters with counters, and then you remove it. And if it If you would be dealt damage, remove that many steam counters from absorption dome and then prevent. So this is basically the D react for mech.
It just blocks 2.
Uh, I think it enters with 4 counters, but oh, this is the yellow. Just no, hold on. Is there
It's only
different colors
yellow.
of?
No, it's only yellow.
Yeah, basically this is the D react of it.
So it's only gonna block 2 damage?
I think so.
That is the worst card I've ever seen.
It's an item.
Oh god. A yellow that doesn't block, that if played, giving your action point blocks 2. Okay.
Mhm.
Alright. Loud and clear.
I think this was. It was. I think this is. I can't remember if this is from Crew, but I mean, Dash is supposed to be able to deal with Wizard pretty easily. An Absorption Dome is kind of one of those things. Was that the? Okay. Hmm. All right. Looks like Will has a pretty big turn here. He's taking damage pretty quickly here. So this kind of becomes a turn cycle thing, right? So if Will can threaten cards from Dash, which I presume he can, given the fact that Dash is only on 19, and this is a 5-card hand with Mask. I presume he could do more than 19 damage. Then we have to think about the next turn cycle, right?
Mhm.
All right, spreading flames here, pitching a blue. So this is going to be a big turn. So Dash basically has to decide if they're blocking or not here. Um, Given the absorption dome, I would probably block this.
If he can add an Artivore here, I think he
Mhm,
probably wins the game. He'll probably be able to pressure enough.
mhm. Okay,
Hopping Mask.
immediately grabbing. I don't know about that, but okay. Sure. I mean,
I guess the
I,
reason he's picking Lava Burst
uh,
is because he already is playing Spreading Flames,
yep.
which means that it doesn't matter how many times, like Salt's never better here more than likely unless he's going
Mhm,
super wide, but unless he has a double strike, Lava Burst is just
yep.
defaultly better.
Mhm. Okay, so this is just for 3 here. Sword
And this
Sling
should
for
be for
another 3,
should be 4,
isn't it?
right? Because it's third combat
Does it have to be equal
link.
or less? I can't remember.
Me neither.
E- Equal or less. Looks like it's just for 3. He took 3 there.
Okay.
I think it's has to be less than. So
So this
this
could
is
be
going to come in
2.
for 2. Yep. All right. And then this is going to be for an extra
4.
1. Yep.
Yep.
This will be for 4. All right. So yeah, we're getting down to that point where Will probably can threaten a card here. But if Dash can get Will off of 3 cards next turn, in terms of turn cycles, he's kind of in trouble. Okay, so Will
Blaze
is thinking
Headlong
about
here is
something.
so good. He has one.
Does he? Oh, if he has one.
Yeah, if he has one,
Mhm.
it would win the game. If he hasn't, it'd be just enough.
Hmm. So yeah, I think this like a 3-card dash hand actually can threaten a decent amount. And I think we're seeing the fact. Oh,
Ooh,
that's a Blaze headlong.
that's it.
The equipment choices of the dash coming back to bite her in the ass here.
Yep.
Um, I think the Goliath Gauntlet is this game could come down to like 1 or 2 life here, and that Goliath Gauntlet would have made a difference here.
And the Talishar as well, because he
Yep,
would have gotten
and the
two.
Talishar. Yep,
He would have gotten 2 to 3 swings on Talishar, which is a difference of
6, 4 or
6.
6.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
total, if he would have went Goliath Gauntlet and Talishar, we're looking at a 7 difference, which already would impact the game because he's already at 7 life. So
yep. All right, blue T-bone here. Still going to take 2 here. A lava burst at the end here, getting the Shuko activation plus the spreading flame buff.
it should be
Puts this to
7.
7. Yep. So this is going to get 2 cards from the dash player's hand. Kind of the
Yep.
worst case scenario here.
Yep. And then that'll be
Yep.
uh Will just have to block with maybe 1 card tops.
Mhm.
He still has armor, so probably
Yep.
won't even have to give a card, and then you have full
Tempo it out
tempo
from there.
there, and
Yep.
yep.
So, I mean, a lot of the times, like, it's a little bit difficult. If you're the dash player, you might look at this game and be like, I don't know what I did wrong. I thought I, played my cards pretty well. Sometimes, especially if you're building your own deck, which happens during a new set, um, you include things like disruption shield, absorption dome. Sorry,
Right.
missing another copy there, and your strategy may not be completely cohesive, right? So, I think if we saw some tighter play from Dash, I think overall Dash is actually has the advantage in this matchup, especially post Dynasty. But we're seeing like a lot of little things adding up to why this game should be very, very comfortable for Will here.
Yeah, I think the dash player just needs to settle on a strategy because it looks like the
Yes.
deck's trying to do about 14 different things. I mean, just that right
Mhm.
there, like pitching a yellow to do 2 where if that was Talishar, it'd be 4 damage, which still wouldn't
Mhm.
change the game, but it is more. So
Yep. Exactly.
if that was a situation, like say we did the math earlier, and say Will was down to like 2 life or whatever. Well, Talishar
Mhm.
could be a 2 card block, right? If he doesn't
Yep.
have any 3 blocks. So
Mhm.
now filing a 2 card hand is much less threatening, and maybe you can actually eke that match out.
Mhm.
But here, because it was the arm piece
Mhm.
and the pistol without induction chain, it's
A-
not gonna do it.
Another thing here is that you should never be dying with your Achilles accelerator still on the board.
Right, he
Um,
could have also last turn. I mean, once again, not changing anything, but could have popped it. Well, no, because he didn't boost,
he
so he
didn't
couldn't even
boost.
use it.
Right.
Yeah, he couldn't use it
Yep.
last turn. So
Yep. If you win the game with your Achilles accelerator still on the board, good job. If you lose the game with equipment that's supposed to be blown up still on the board,
you better have lost by 2 or more, or more
yeah,
than 2.
yes, exactly. BIOS update Spark of Genius here, jumping in front of attacks, but there's still going to be a leakage of damage here. And if there's a no block in hand, that's going to be game. Oh, no block in hand. That is game.
That's it.
All right. Well, that'll do it. So the card guys go up 1-0 against the Invaders. Overall, I think Will played that pretty well. Except for that one hand where for like this is does like 15, 60 damage and it blocks for like 10.
Yep.
What are we doing here? Um, as for the dash, I think the dash player needs to consider their strategy a little bit and uh come with better equipment, but frankly. All right. I think that's gonna wrap it up. Moving on to game 2.
Let's do it.